I'm just going to read a couple of extracts and a couple of short stories. So this first one is from my book, The Accidental Dragonrider, which is about a teacher who wants to save his village from pirates and a dragon who doesn't want to help him. So it goes like this. A great rush of air from above knocked Aiko to the ground. A shadow blotted out the sun. As the wind subsided, he became aware of a hulking presence in front of him, heavy beyond mere physical mass. Expecting it to be the last thing he ever did, he looked up. The tip of the dragon's nose was about 3 feet in front of him. Its head and body were covered in jet-black scales. Its eyes were the palest gold, with a narrow vertical slit in the middle, black as the bottom of the ocean, seeming deep enough to contain worlds. The dragon shifted its weight slightly, and its nostrils dilated. Air moved past Aiko as it breathed in. This was it, then. How long might it be before someone noticed he was missing? If they came up here to look for him, would they work out the meaning of the blackened patch of grass where he now lay? Man-thing. The voice reverberated inside his skull. The legends were right. Dragons had no voices like humans, but spoke directly with their minds. What the legends hadn't mentioned was that the dragon's mind speech was incredibly loud. Perhaps he should move further away? Given his present circumstances, that might not be a wise move. Crawling, said the dragon, groveling as befits your kind. Were you another dragon, I should kill you for this insult. Yet one such as you is scarcely worth that trouble. The dragon paused and breathed out. Aiko's head reeled as if from blows. The ground seemed to spin underneath him. Still, he had survived a lot longer than he had expected to after the dragon's arrival. At the moment, he wasn't sure whether that was a good thing. Carefully and distinctly, he framed words in his mind. "O great dragon," he said, "I offer my most humble apologies for disturbing you." "It speaks." The dragon seemed quite startled. Its pupils widened fractionally. Aiko hadn't been sure his mind speech would work, so that was a relief. Would the dragon hear everything he thought? No, his sources said you had to want your thoughts to be audible. "O great dragon," Aiko said, "I have made some study of the ways of your kind, but there is, of course, much of which I am still ignorant. I assure you that I mean no offense. I would be most grateful to learn the correct manner of addressing you." Polite, too. There was an uncomfortable pause. He imagined that the dragons had never had to consider such a question, at least not when it was being asked by a human. "O great dragon will suffice," it said eventually. "Perhaps, O great dragon, you wish to know why I summoned you here." "You did not summon me," said the dragon, and Aiko sensed anger behind the words. "I chose to come." "As you wish, O great dragon." Aiko bowed his head. "Look at me," said the dragon, and Aiko complied. He knew that he couldn't have disobeyed. "I am nevertheless curious to know why a man-thing happens to be on this hilltop, far from its own kind, at the very same moment that I choose to visit it." "That is quite simple to explain, O great dragon. I wish to propose an alliance." "An alliance? To what end?" "O great dragon, a fleet of pirates are preying on the people of the Lennis Islands, attacking our settlements and ships. We are a peaceful people, not used to fighting." "And you wish me to destroy these pirates for you?" said the dragon. "Yes." Remembering his manners, he added, "Please." "You would have me burn their ships with my fiery breath, capsize them with a sweep of my tail, pluck man-things from the sea and carry them aloft, shrieking, before I flip them into my mouth to crush them and swallow them whole." Aiko winced at the dragon's suggestions. "I had thought, O great dragon, that the mere sight of you would terrify them into leaving us alone." "Perhaps. And what do you offer me in return for ridding you of these vermin?" "The pirates have a great hoard of treasure on their ships and in their home port. Gold, silver, precious jewels. If you defeat them, it is yours." The dragon did not reply. The corners of its mouth lifted, revealing glistening white teeth. Its nostrils narrowed, and a sound like a tree falling filled Aiko's mind. You know far more of our ways than I would have expected of any man-thing, but there is much of which you are ignorant. A gale rushed past him, pelting him with dust and twigs. By the time he could see again, the dragon was no more than a spot in the sky, an odd-shaped bird spiraling upwards. Almost at the limit of sight, there was a violet flash, and the dragon was gone. Okay, thank you. So, my books are available at various online retailers, also available at Urban Arts down there if you want to support a local venue. 20% of the revenue from them goes to Urban Arts. So this is a short story now from a collection of sci-fi short stories called Racing the Storm. This is called Blame the Cat. They call me the Cat. Of course, it's because they see me as a cat burglar, but I've taken to wearing a catsuit and a helmet in the shape of a cat's head when I'm on my missions. It's ridiculously uncomfortable, but it focuses my mind. My news monitors alert me to a story that might have dubious transactions associated with it. A minor government official in some barely functioning country has been killed in what looks like a professional hit. Apparently he'd been taking bribes from the wrong people, or not been taking them from the right ones. I hesitate over pursuing this case. It's rather more serious than the usual deliveries of illegal drugs or illegal porn. My actions could result in more deaths. But it's an opportunity to sow distrust at a high level within the gang that ordered the hit. And it's not as if anyone would mourn the loss of people like them. I wriggle into the suit, tug on the helmet, and leave the hotel to find an unsecured Wi-Fi point to route through. Sitting in an almost empty bus depot, it doesn't take me long to find the right transactions. 50,000 blipcoin, half up front, half on completion. Life's cheap in places like that. I select 1,000 good causes at random. Mostly charities, but also individuals with low balances, and to round it out, a few companies that score highly on indexes of not being evil. Then I fire up the dwarf miner. Most people will tell you that transactions on a blockchain are irreversible. A few will tell you that in theory they can be reversed, but it requires so much computing power that it would be quicker and cheaper to find the recipient and beat him until he agrees to refund the money. The dwarf miner is a way to turn theory into practice. It hacks into quantum computers in research labs and big companies around the world and entangles them into a quantum supercomputer. This temporary computer attacks the cryptographic puzzles that protect the integrity of the blockchain, finding alternative solutions where the payments for the assassination didn't happen, but all the other payments after them still did. Then it sends the coins that were used for the assassination to my good causes, making the criminal boss look as though he cares more about kittens and sick children than about murdering obstacles. The dwarf miner can run for only a few minutes before it decoheres, which usually means I can rewrite only a few days' worth of transactions. Newer quantum computers might run for longer, but I'm not sure even a cat should have that much power. Mission accomplished, I head back to the hotel. In the foyer, I rip off the helmet and gulp down cool air. The news monitors report an explosion at a building rumoured to be used by the criminal gang. By the time anyone thinks to blame the cat, I'll be long gone. Alright, this is not available in a book, but there is a film of it on YouTube. It's a tribute, if that's the right word, to the film noir detective stories, and fittingly it's called The Last Story. The name's Mackenzie, Joe Mackenzie. I write detective stories, or I did. I'd had some success with a series about a PI called Rick Storm, but I ran out of ideas for him, or I had enough of readers thinking he was real and could solve their cases. So I killed him off. Bad move. To say everything I did after that was a flop is like describing the Atlantic Ocean as a pond. Once, my editor said no before I'd finished saying, "I've got an idea for my next book." So I'd come to accept that I had to write another Rick Storm book. Trouble was, Rick was currently in a concrete block at the bottom of the Hudson River, with 2 broken legs, a belly full of lead, and wearing nothing but a ballerina's tutu. Not exactly a popular guy towards the end. I can't do a prequel because I've said the first book was his first case. And I can't do any missing files because the books all follow on from one another. For someone who writes about a real clever guy, I guess I'm not so smart. So I've spent months trying to think of some way to bring Rick back from the dead, because if he's not, I am. Then one day I get a call from a guy named Nicholas. He sounds refined. Nowadays that just means he doesn't drop his H's. I brace myself for the usual complaint about how long it's been since the last Rick Storm book. It doesn't come. He says he has a proposal for me. I'm hoping he wants to discuss a movie or TV adaptation or a merchandising deal, even a book signing. Hell, right now I'd be the clown for a kid's birthday party if the parents promised to buy some of my books. He says he has a, quote, mind-blowing idea, unquote, for the next Rick Storm book. Now, I've had fans offer me ideas before. Usually they want half the money for something that was worn out when Sherlock Holmes was still in elementary school. You do know Rick's dead, I say. He says he can get around that. I should laugh and hang up. Time was when I would have done. But several months of drinking too much and eating too little do strange things to a man's judgment. I agree to meet Nicholas for coffee tomorrow afternoon. He wasn't kidding when he said his idea was mind-blowing. It's not just off the wall, it's out the door and down the street. This could sell more than all the previous Rick Storm books put together. And Nicholas wants just 1% of the gross. He produces a piece of paper. It's a contract, but not one like any I've ever seen. The print is tiny, and when I look closer, the words seem to move apart to make room for new ones. He hands me a pen. As I sign, I break into a cold sweat. If I was a religious man, I might describe the feeling as being like someone walking over my grave. I go home and start to write. I type for 24 hours straight. I sleep at my desk and wake up 3 hours later when I fall out of my chair. I carry on typing without any pauses, without changing anything as I go along. It's as if someone else has already written the book and is just dictating it to me. After a week of typing, I email the manuscript to my editor without looking at it. Wanting some rest, I check into the nearest hotel. My editor tracks me down 3 days later. He calls it a work of towering genius, but wants to know why I didn't mention it the last time he called, or the time before that, or the time before that, or, well, ever, really. I wanted it to be a surprise, I say. I never could lie to him. It takes him about 30 seconds to get the truth out of me. He asks to see the contract. An hour later, he calls back, wanting to know if this Nicholas guy has horns and cloven hooves. No, I say, he's got green skin and a ray gun. What kind of dumb question is that? He doesn't laugh. My editor actually thinks I've sold my soul to the devil. What's worse is that I can't work out which one of us is crazy. Nicholas isn't answering his phone, so I send the contract to my lawyer. When he calls back, he's full of professional admiration for the guy who wrote it, but admits that he can't get me out of it. Over the next few months, the publicity machine grinds into action. I do as little as I can get away with. Sales exceed even the most optimistic expectations. Then, at a book signing, a familiar voice asks me where I got the idea from. That's when it hits me. Not only is this book better than anything I ever have written, it's better than anything I ever will write. Nicholas has taken my soul already. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear it for Steve Pemberton, everyone, and his great books. Thank you.